Meeting order, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We had a couple of changes that were on the counter, so we have a employment advertisement for the chief of police that was presented tonight, and so under unfinished business item 1214, we're going to break that out into two motions. A, to acknowledge receipt of the competency template, and then B, to approve or not approve the chief of police employment advertisement. So that would be one change to the agenda, and then the other item that was presented tonight by our farmers market manager is under 1228. It's a revised budget. So if we could break the motion up, it would be to acknowledge receipt of the January 25th, 2012 memo and the February 27th revised budget. And then I'll break it up and have a separate motion to approve or not approve, so we'll have a chance to talk about that. So I'm deleting the which includes a $1 increase in the stall rental fee per week for all of the markets. Okay. And then under discussion, we have PCF discussion. Is there any other addition or changes to the agenda that any council members would like to make?
Wait, PCF discussion comes after update on strategic plan?
Yes. Mr. Gearbox.
Just under discussion, since Mr. Rubel's here tonight, if we could have a discussion about the surveying that's occurring on Michigan Avenue,
Okay.
or an update.
Any other changes to the agenda? If not, we have a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Moved Tahar, second Morrow. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Citizen comment on agenda items. Under the Open Meetings Act, any citizen may come forward at this time and make comment or question on items that appear on this agenda. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Anyone who would like to speak is requested but not required to state his or her name and address for the record. This would be the time that you would speak to anything that's on our agenda. Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. The following consent agenda will normally be adopted without discussion. However, at the request of any citizen or council member, any item may be removed from the consent agenda for council discussion.
Move to approve.
Move Gearbox. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second Morrow.
Roth.
Roth. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I'm gonna. It takes me a while sometimes to get the.
I just got to get a more gruffy voice.
Or maybe like move your. That was. Okay, sorry. Okay, so we have a motion, Gearbox, second Roth, to approve and adopt the items on the consent agenda as submitted. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Under unfinished business, item 1214, this is the police chief search. This would be a motion to acknowledge the receipt of the candidate competency template summary for the chief of police position from consultant Terry McGinn, and to approve or not approve the competency template competency template summary as submitted or amended.
So moved.
Move to do what?
To acknowledge the receipt.
And do we want to approve it as submitted, or? Or do we just want to acknowledge receipt for the time being and have some discussion?
I think that sounds good, to just acknowledge receipt or not.
Okay, Mr. Peters, you're moving to receive the template summary, correct?
Yes.
Okay, do we have a second to receive?
Second.
Second to her discussion. Do we have any discussion on this motion? Mr. Rowe?
I don't know if the change was made or not. There was one suggestion on the wording change. And I had made a comment that I'd like to have seen minimum weights a little bit higher for 2 components.
Well,
I don't know what the result was of that.
Mr. Campbell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My thought would be
because there were a couple comments from council members that Mr. McGinn could come to the podium and could discuss those, and if that's what the group wants to see those changes, terrific. Or if there's any other ones for those that may not have had the opportunity to make mention or ask some questions, that type of thing.
Okay, Mr. McGinn, would you like to come forward?
So let me just mention the two comments that I did receive. There are 6 basic competencies, and one suggestion was that on 2 of those competencies, that the minimum level of 3 be changed to 4. So what that essentially means is, in the significant range, we're still saying we want this person to have a significant amount of this competency, but we want it to be on the higher side of significant, maybe not all the way to outstanding, but the higher side of significant. So that made perfect sense to me. It was in a couple of competencies that were pretty important. The other comment that I received was a grammatical comment where the word constantly was used, where another word consistently would probably be better, so that's easily done. And the one thing I'll say about raising the numbers, there's a certain, I'm very comfortable doing that. There's a certain amount of art to this selection process. There's a certain amount of science. The reason that there's a certain amount of art is because we don't get to order candidates off of Amazon.com. You know, they come with all different kinds of strengths. So in any category, I would probably not automatically, if somebody was very strong in many categories, I would probably not automatically dump them out because they were a little shy in one category. I would probably go back to the hiring committee at that point and say, I want your awareness of this and your input on it. So I just want to be clear that it's not mechanical. Right. You don't. Other comments, things that people would like to suggest for me about the template?
Mr. Harp?
Yeah, thank you. I just, one small item. I noticed in section 2, there's a reference to fire service.
Oh,
I believe that's
all right, I'll
supposed
double check that. Take it out, thanks.
And then my other question was about area number 5, relationship building. And I wondered about changing the weight of that to 1.25, since I think community orientation and relationship building, community orientation, you've given a weight of 1.5, which I agree with. And I think relationship building is so closely tied to that. And also in the current situation that we find ourselves statewide, with an increased emphasis on cooperation across units of government, that might be warranted. That's it. Thanks.
I'm comfortable with that.
Could you do me a favor and
Sure.
reiterate what we're doing? Because I think there's people in the audience that don't know.
Ah, okay.
Sorry, guys. I just realized you're all sitting here going, what are you guys talking about? We've been talking about this for a while, so,
I submitted
and we're
to them-
televised, so we don't always repeat what we've talked about before. But
When you hire somebody, you want them to have certain qualifications. That's their education, their experience. You also want them to have certain competencies. Those are things that they're good at, that they've learned how to be good at through their education, their experience. So I submitted to, after listening to everybody's opinions about what we needed in a police chief, I submitted 6 categories of competency to the council. And what we're doing right now is commenting on, should some of those be seen as more important than others? And in some cases, do we want a higher level of that competence? So a person could be fair, good, excellent at something. We're talking a little bit about whether or not, in some cases, we need them to be more excellent in a certain category than in other categories. And we're also talking about if some categories are more important, and the numbers have to do with the relative weighting of one category to another.
are there further questions?
I just want to make a comment. I want to compliment him on compiling this list, and I think you have an excellent tool.
Thank you.
Mr. Campbell?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to also add, separate from the competency, so I don't want to, but also before you, you have the proposed posting language. And I apologize we didn't get that out sooner, but we got it this morning, so we wanted to get it done. And to you all, I don't know if you want to take a minute to go through and see if there's any...
We put that as a separate motion under
Okay.
this agenda
Okay.
item.
Okay. Thank you.
So my understanding right now, the only change that we're making to the document that we're voting on is that we're changing the relationship building weight to 1.25, but there are no other changes to the document. Is that correct?
I think we're talking about raising relationship building from 3 to 4 in terms of what we see as the minimum we'd like to see there, and also direction-setting capability
We're
from
only-
3 to 4.
We're only voting on this document for purposes, correct? This, so I think we're using this.
In which case, if you're using that's the summary document, then I would just take the 3 to 4 business as advice to me.
Great. Okay. You see what I'm saying?
I'm fine with that.
Does that, everybody understand what we're doing here?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Campbell, you're
Yes.
comfortable with this?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Great. Is there other comments?
I thought I understood as a 1.5. You mentioned 1.25.
Number 5, relationship building competency would be, the weight would change from 1.0 to 1.25.
Okay.
But other than that, my understanding is there's no other change on this page.
Right.
Correct. Okay. So the motion right now is to receive a template summary. We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And now we need a motion to approve the template as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Move to Har, second Gearba. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And I would also, I think all council agrees that we appreciate the process to date and look forward to continuing success. It's a very important role in our community. The next item under this agenda item is B, to approve or not approve the chief of police employment advertisement. We have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Move Morale, second Tahar. Everybody, I know it was just on the counter tonight. Did
Yeah,
everybody
we
get a
have a
chance to
second
want
to read
to
it?
talk, ask Mr. Campbell to go through this? Would you, maybe that would give us, you know, did Mr. McGinn also prepare this?
Yes, he did.
Okay. I don't think there's a problem here, but maybe you want to just explain how you did this?
And because obviously you know Saline better than I do, I'll be happy for any corrections on this. But what I just tried to do in the posting that will go, and it really goes 3 places. It'll go to the Michigan Association of Chiefs of Police website. That's really the critical one. It will also go to the Michigan Municipal League website, and I think it probably makes sense to put it on the City of Saline website. So it really only needs to go to those 3 places. But what I did is I broke it up into 3 parts, trying to describe the city, the department, and the position, and probably could have gone into more length on any of those, but was trying to be reasonably concise about it and keep it to 1 page. So anything, any comments on there, I'd be very glad for any editorial suggestions on this.
Mr. Gearba?
Just point 3 where it says St. Joseph Mercy Saline Hospital, is that still the appropriate way to consider it since it doesn't really have any in-care patient care?
That's what it's still called.
It's still called that. That still is the title. Okay.
They still, yeah.
I mean, they do outpatient, but I didn't know if they consider it still a
ER
hospital.
stuff.
Okay. Fine.
Any other questions or comments on the job description? Anything you think that should be added or subtracted? No, we're all set?
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Campbell, you too. Thank you very much. We have a motion to approve and the advertisement And a second, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item 12, under new business, item 1228, the 2012-2013 Saline Farmers Market budget and fee increase. Would be a motion to acknowledge receipt of the January 25th and February 27th memos from Nancy Crisp, our Saline Farmers Market Manager.
Move to acknowledge receipt.
Move Gearba, do we have a second?
Second.
Second Rhodes? Okay, so I know everybody had a chance to look at it over the weekend, so maybe if you could talk about some of the changes that are in this. So,
Originally, I had asked for an increase because we haven't increased the Saturday market in 5 years. And then the Tuesday market, we started out fairly low vendor fees. I wanted to make sure we could try it out. And then the winter market is really popular. I think it can support a raise in vendor fees. And then the other reason that's real important is that we would like to accept the bridge card. And that costs money, and it just costs money. We don't get anything back.
can you explain what that is?
Well, the bridge card is formerly known as food stamps, and it's a certain amount is given to people who qualify, low-income people who qualify, and then they can take this card, and if we can accept them at the market, then we have the equipment where they, it's like a credit card, and they get wooden tokens that they can take to various vendors and spend on fresh vegetables, fruits, breads. There's a list of things that they can buy. They can also take the bridge card, of course, to the grocery store, and I understand there's many families and people on the bridge card in Michigan. We're not sure how many in Saline, but we also think that we'll attract quite a few more customers through accepting the bridge card.
Right,
So
you
that's our
talked-
plan.
I don't know, we realized we had a little error there. You mentioned that we talked to social services about whether or not
We
they
did
thought-
talk to social services, and they thought about 95% of their clients are on the bridge card and would probably use it. We were kind of hoping to have a way of taking it to them, but with our current plan, it's so expensive that we need to go with Plan A first. Then they'll have to come to us, which is fine. And they can come to the market and get their wooden tokens. What else was I going to say? Well, originally it was just $1 per stall per week, but that doesn't bring us quite enough money to fund this program. And so the other idea I had was decreasing the discount that the annual vendors get. Right now it was 20%, and I would like to decrease that to 15%, and that brings up a total amount of $2,700 for us to apply towards the bridge card. And that can vary. I mean, we had quite a bit of a profit last year in the market, so, but that will get us started. We can start out by actually having free equipment as long as we have a phone line and electricity down at the market. And we're working at it. I think we can make this happen, and we would like to. So I'm asking for approval of the revised budget.
Great, thank you. Mr. Gearba.
Just considering it, just to make sure that all the overhead costs and everything are appropriately being attached to this budget, including this new program with the bridge card, if you're saying there's going to be a phone line and all those type of things, is there any,
We
are we going to
haven't come
cover
up
everything?
with an official budget yet, but Todd, yeah.
Mr. Campbell?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And Nancy and staff, we've been kind of working as a team on this with my office, with IT and finance, as well as the treasurer's office too. We sat through about a 2-hour webinar last week, and that Nancy was sent us a link for, and she was also in attendance. That was very informative. Yeah, the way we're proposing on the backside of that revised is a spreadsheet on the backside, the one that I handed out that was at your desk, at your spot. There you go.
Ah,
Got it.
Yep. It was on the back. But also, let me go back to the front, though, where it says net income. Under Saturday summer, it says 1,800, Tuesday, 350, winter, 550. Originally, when we were looking at this, it was in the bridge card was actually a line item. But we took it out because at this point in time, the reason I try not to piecemeal things to bring before you, try and bring the whole project, but I know Nancy wants to, if we are able to increase the price, she wants to be able to have ample time to get to her vendors and let them know ahead of time. So and when we put this out last week, we didn't have all the numbers yet for the bridge card. So, but essentially, under that net income, those numbers, that equivalates to $2,700, and that's $2,300 it's already spoken for, if you will, through the bridge card program, if we're so inclined to move that way. But on the spreadsheet, under the scenario A, I call it fixed location, where the way this would work is, if we're doing a fixed location, we can get a free machine, a point-of-sale machine from the state, and if it's that machine, there's also no transaction fees. So we can have a line drop by Frontier at parking lot 4 and hook this machine up, have someone there to staff that machine, and that will be for people that have the bridge card. Now, that will not be for them to come and apply for the bridge card. They already have to have it. Come, they can swipe it, we'll give them their tokens, and then they use those tokens, and they have to be specifically designed for the Saline market. They're only good at the Saline market, and we can only accept the Saline market tokens as well. So that person would be there. It would be as you can see in the spreadsheet, it is accounted for. It would be a contracted person similar to as Nancy is. So it'll be just for, as far as to get to swipe the card and obtain the tokens, you would have to go to the Saturday summer market. But we'd also be able to accept them at the Tuesday market. But as far as to able to get them, then once they give them to the vendor for whatever they purchase, then they return those to us, the vendors do, and then it's either going to be once or twice a month, probably similar to how we write checks now, currently the same schedule. We're not going to be writing an extra check for these. It'll be with the same, so they'll have to wait a little bit. We won't do it weekly. And then our treasurer's office will do all the accounting and that type of thing to make sure all the details are squared away. But we have to purchase the tokens. There's some money in there for some promotion for signage and those types of things. And so as you can see, total cost comes out to $2,301, which would be covered by the $2,700, the increase. Scenario B is, I guess, would be with a Wi-Fi, with a laptop, with a mobile data card, and those types of things. So we could have it at the Saturday summer market, we could have it at Tuesday market, we could have it at the winter market. But obviously, you can also see the expenses much greater. And that does not include, as you see, I have the percentages, the processing fees, which is an $8 a month charge, but then there's also for individual swipes. So the bridge card, and that, we could also, with this, though, we could step it up to, if we wanted to accept credit card and debit cards as well. But as you can see on there, I just put the percentage, but I didn't want to take a guess at how many transactions we would have. But you can see it's substantially almost 3 times more than what we're proposing. I think, at least for the most part, I think if we can try the scenario A and the fixed location to see the popularity of it, and then go from there. Because I do, as Nancy said, we will be bringing another customer group that hasn't been there before. So that certainly is beneficial to the vendors, too.
Any questions for Mr. Campbell or Ms. Chris? Mr. Rose?
2 questions, if I could. One, under scenario A, could that system move to the indoor winter market with only the additional cost of adding this dedicated phone line?
I believe it could. I don't know if there would be confusion because of the number, because it wouldn't be the same number. I don't know. The other thing would be, it couldn't be, the phone systems are such that, back in the day, you could just put a phone in a jack, but with the phone systems now, they're pretty detailed, and you can't just take out a phone and plug in another one. It's got to be a certain type of phone and those types of things. So At this point, I don't know how feasible that is, so that's why we looked at also at the Wi-Fi too.
Okay, seems to me on the surface that it ought to be feasible, because otherwise we're only having this program available for half the year. And if it is in fact beneficial to our residents, then we ought to try and get it year-round, I think. And then the second question was the logistics of when people come and get their tokens and they spend them at the various merchants, and at the end of the market, this second person, I'm assuming, will go around and collect those tokens from the various merchants, is that right?
That's one of the things we hadn't totally discussed. If that potentially could be a possibility, or I think that would be the better possibility, or certainly the vendors could come by City Hall and drop them off. But either way, it would work. We could.
I was just wondering if the administrative costs of writing checks, if a check has to be written to Joe Blow vendor, and he sold $2 worth of tokens, and it costs $10 or whatever it costs to write a check, it seems like we're going to be going backwards there.
Well,
Anyway, that's a detail, I guess.
yeah, the money through this goes, the state puts the money into an account. So that they have to be able to establish, to retrieve that money. And we account, that becomes our account, but they're putting money in it, so. But we would probably at that point give them cash, and we would reimburse out of that account. I don't think we issue checks less than, it's either 10 or 5, I think it's 10.
Okay. Just wondering how that part would work. Thank you.
If I might also add, the other reason we're going after scenario A is that, in my opinion, is very critical that this program, well, it's a great program, but it needs to cover its costs. You know, our resources continue to dwindle into, our general fund continues to dwindle and be reduced, so I don't know that I know there's not money there to cover that cost. Even a few $100s, as we all know, I think a few $100s is a lot of money to us these days, and we want to certainly be the best stewards we can be. So I think that's critical. And the other thing, we want to be cautious in that we're getting in a little bit, delving into the human services a little bit, and my estimation, we're not that large of a organization with the resources to offer a lot of human resources. So I just want to be cautious that this is a great program. It's certainly very supportive of it, and I think it certainly can support itself at some level. But just those things to think about as we move forward.
Mr. Gearbox?
I have no problem piloting this with scenario A, and considering that that's probably more the appropriate way to do it, and then if we wanted to expand it next year. Of course, the concern being that we would be having most of the vendors subsidizing this if it should not cover itself. But, I mean, that's kind of what we're doing anyways, is that they're going to basically pay their fee, and that's to help cover the cost of all of this. I don't see a problem with increasing some of the other rates if they're efficient, you know, like the daily rates. Have those been increased, or don't we have that many individuals that use the daily rates and such?
The daily rates,
In terms of the Saturday farmers market, you have daily rates that say 14, 24, and 33. Have those been increased, or are
that's
they?
what we're proposing, to increase those $1.
that.
They were
Okay.
13, yeah, now we'll increase them $1.
Because I was looking, I'm thinking if you wanted to raise them to 15, 25, it's been
We
5
did-
years. That's appropriate.
Right, well, we did look at that. I looked at all these different ways, and this way brought us just in that realm, and I think the vendors will be able to accept
Okay.
a little easier, the $1 plus the decrease. The 20% discount is actually pretty nice, so I think they'll be able to go along with the 15% discount and still be okay, because our farmers they're on a tight budget too, so I'm trying to be really sensitive to all of that.
And I know you were comparing them, you said you'd compared them to the other farmers markets that are in the area, so.
I did some, and I found that their daily rates went all the way from $10 to $30 a day.
Really? Okay.
So we're within a competitive range. I didn't really look at all the yearly. Everybody does the yearly differently, but I did the daily.
Okay. No, I just want to make sure that you've given the advantage, because I don't see any indication that we should not raise these fees, that we should be
Right.
appropriate for that, because it is providing that service, and it seems to be a very well-taken approach to handling this. Okay.
Mr. Har?
Yeah, a comment first. I think I agree that piloting this under Plan A is attractive to me. And I wonder if we know what other area farmers markets have done similar, have other area farmers markets introduced the bridge card, and how have they fared with it?
I can't speak to all of them. I know the Andover Farmers Market does, and they said, Molly, the market manager, said there was like $10,000 worth of coupons coming in. I think she said for the year. They do a lot there. Ypsilanti, they have a lot as well, but they do target a lot of the lower income people. I can't remember. Someone else said, I think Jackson, I just can't quite remember, but Michigan Farmers Market Association, I know, has a complete list of all the markets that do this, and we want to be one of those markets because they pass out these little wallet-sized sheets that say who's involved in this, so even when people are traveling, they can visit a farmer's market.
Okay.
So there are statistics on that.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on this motion? So right now, the motion is to acknowledge receipt of the, and we had a little typo in there. It's actually February 20th. Is that what? Yeah. Yep, February 20th.
What did I say?
And February 27th. It was January 25th. I didn't catch that either.
Oh.
So we have a motion to acknowledge receipt of the two memos. Is there any discussion on the acknowledgement of receipt? If not, all in favor to acknowledge receipt, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And then we have a motion to approve the revised budget for the three farmers markets for 2012 to 2013.
So moved.
Second.
Rhodes, second to Har. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
And 1229 floodplain management ordinance, ordinance number 737. So motion to acknowledge receipt of the February 23rd, 2012 memo from City Superintendent Engineer Rubel. To acknowledge receipt and reading of ordinance number 737. An ordinance to designate an enforcing agency to discharge the responsibility of the City of Saline located in Washington County and to designate regulated flood hazard areas under the provisions of the State Construction Code Act, Act number 230 of the Public Acts of 1972 as amended, to approve and adopt or not adopt the resolution to manage floodplain development for the National Flood Insurance Program as submitted, and to approve and adopt or not adopt ordinance number 737 as submitted.
Move to acknowledge the receipt, acknowledge receipt, approve and adopt, and approve and adopt.
Support.
Moved Gearbox, second Rhodes. Discussion.
Thank you, Mayor. Starting about 2.5 years ago, FEMA notified us they were going to start and redo their flood insurance study. The original study for Saline was completed back in 1973. We've been utilizing that for two basic things. One, looking at floodplains and how they affect site plans, because they have to be shown on site plans, so that helps verify that. And then the other item, the other big item is that when homes are mortgaged, banks want to see excerpt of the panel applied to that lot to make sure they're not in the floodplain and therefore have to pay floodplain insurance. So either Tillman or I participated in various meetings with the consultant for FEMA, which was Stantec, but it was the Kentucky office that basically conducted most of the work. So after a period of FEMA exercise with their consultant and input from the various communities within Washtenaw County, and I believe they did other counties too, but our notebook, our big notebook, is just Washtenaw County and all the estuaries within it. FEMA then issued a preliminary draft, responded to that, then the final draft, and after they issued the final draft, they told us, well, now you to recognize the findings and the updating of the maps and the documents since 1973, that we have to amend our ordinance to twofold reasons. As I mentioned here, actually threefold. One is to recognize the FEMA work through our ordinance. Now, we have an ordinance now for floodplain management, and we need to recognize, however, that the new FEMA study updates the old record. Secondly, we have to sign and return the resolution and the ordinance to continue our participation in the national insurance, the National Flood Insurance Program. To my knowledge, I don't know of any resident or other business that actually is affected by the floodplain. And in my 25 years here, all the records we've researched and provided information for did not show or did not reveal any need for floodplain insurance on any residential or business transaction when they're doing their due diligence. And then thirdly, the amendment to the ordinance adopts the new maps. Now, the new maps are just, well, they're in color now, and they're probably digitized and available on the FEMA website, and so they're a little bit easier to read and use. And we have a color copier now for the last year and a half, so we can provide citizens and others in the community with the color panel map. And Tim and I both looked at the new map versus the old map, and Saline basically was not affected, except for it did recognize that there were a few mistakes in the past that they did correct. Two of them were by request on residential properties, and one we generated ourselves when this process started on behalf of the business center on Keveling Drive, the Keveling Commerce Center, because their bank required them to pay floodplain insurance even though they were in a Zone X. So, but that was kind of an anomaly, and I think by now they probably have ironed it out with the official map. So with that, to answer any questions Council had.
Mr. Peter?
Yeah. Thanks, Mr. for that report. Just one question. Does the floodplain only apply to the Saline River, or to also Woods Drain and Cokes Drain? And those
It
other-
applies to the Wood Outlet Drain and the Saline River.
Not Cokes Drain over by Browns Farm?
No, that's basically, on our map, it doesn't show up on our map because majority of it's in the township.
It doesn't apply to any low-lying area that might pond up during heavy rains or anything like that, just strictly the river basin?
It just applies to the boundary or the two edges of the Wood Outlet Drain and then the two edges of the Saline River,
Okay.
which runs, through, comes in down by the wastewater plant, goes through the parks, and then exits going northwest. And then the Wood Outlet, of course, runs from the industrial park through Wildwood, Northview by the water plant, then it engages the Saline River right at the mouth of the Mill Pond impoundment.
And just curious, if there were any residents in that floodplain, would they have been grandfathered in after this? They would be required to have the...
Well, I don't believe there's any grandfathering involved in either the past study or the current study. What happens when there's a property transaction is when a bank or someone, a developer, will then ask for evidence of where the floodplain may be. Now, to get an exact point elevation, they actually have to go to the MDEQ. The FEMA coordinator is Les Thomas. In the past, when someone's actually wanted an exact elevation, then they go to the DEQ. They do a point study of the site, and then they get right down to the tenths of a foot rather than just a whole foot like this. The profiles and the flood panels are only rounded up to the whole foot. But to get really exact, when you're doing site development, they get down to the tenth of a foot.
Okay, thanks.
Is there any further discussion on the motion? Mr. Roon?
And before we make this part of the official record, per Mr. Campbell's email, I believe there's a word that needs to be added.
Yes, I'm sorry about that. I found out today, thanks to Mr. Rhodes' question, that when I typed this, the mind being faster than the fingers left the word "not" out of the second to the last paragraph. So where it says that the study did impact the boundary for habitable structures, it should have said did not impact. Sorry about that.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve and adopt Number 737, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Rubel. Under discussion, do we have any commissioner committee reports from council members?
Here. Commissioner report.
Mr. Gearba.
Okay, well, Mr. Rhodes, you have a commissioner report?
Yes, ma'am. Environmental Commission met its regular monthly meeting on February the 15th and conducted several items of business prior to adjourning in order to attend the town hall meeting talking about the requirements for the police chief, one of which is a recommendation that will come to council the second meeting in March relative to the River Raisin Watershed Council. And also, I believe at that meeting, Marcia Belair, who is the current chair of the commission, will give the annual report for the commission's activities for last year. Bob Skull is talking with a gentleman from the county about the possibility of having a toxic hazard waste collection day here in Saline. County apparently only sponsors one of those a year, and the one for 2012 is going to be in Chelsea, so we're trying to get 2013 here in the city of Saline. We are also looking into the establishment of a program called the Red Barrel Program for the disposal of controlled substances, and there seems to be some movement going forward on that, and we appreciate the efforts of Mike Lindeman and others in trying to put that program together. And then on April the 21st, probably outside of the farmers market, that's a Saturday, the Environmental Commission members will be there to distribute white pine seedlings and dogwood transplants in recognition of Earth Day, which is on the 22nd. And let's see, I think that's, well, it's a recent update. Clean Energy Coalition is going to put on a program with the Environmental Commission and the library, at the library on April the 18th, 7 o'clock in the evening. And it is a program on alternative energy for residential homes put on by Clean Energy Coalition. Ought to be really interesting. That's it for me. Thank you.
Mr. Gearba.
I just wanted to bring everybody up to date on the Saline Youth Council. They've been working hard lately to get organized for a couple events that are coming up. One, they're going to be doing the lock-in this Friday at the Rec Center, March 2nd. And they do need some volunteers to be as chaperones during the hours. They're usually locked in from 9 to 6 a.m. So if anyone's willing to come for a couple-hour shift, they'd appreciate that. And they'll be doing that this Friday again. The other one, the students are going to be attending, there's 5 of them right now that are planning to attend the youth symposium for the Michigan Recreation and Parks Association that they put on every year. Up at this year is going to be at Tustin, Michigan, near Cadillac, I guess it is. We've got about 5 individuals going. They are looking for some support if some of our organizations or such would be willing to put forward a donation or so to help some of them defray the costs. That we've got a couple of the organizations in the city already donating money towards it, but that would help them. Basically, it's over a weekend from the 23rd to the 25th of March, and they attend that. And it's a great gathering where a lot of individuals come from different communities all over the state. In addition, this week they talked about CQC and identifying an individual that would be part of it as a regular basis. Unfortunately, it's going to be difficult for them because students can't necessarily take off during classes. So a regular person being appointed all the time is going to be difficult, but they're going to look into seeing how else they can handle that. And at this point, that's about it for the student youth. Tomorrow, actually, the Historical District Commission is going to be meeting and discussing another topic again about replacement of windows. I encourage individuals from the council or whatever to participate if they would. There seems to be some discussions going on where and how we want to apply the historic rulings and such from the Secretary of Interior, and I want to make sure that we as a city and as individuals understand how we're going to approach this, if we're going to continue to maintain the level of what some standards are in other communities, or whether we're going to try and do a modified thing that may be more beneficial for people here in our town. Thank you.
Are there other commissioner committee reports? Mr. Campbell, do you have a report on the select level?
Oh, I could. The board hasn't met yet, but I believe all city council is aware, but if not, and for those that are in the audience, either here or at home, you certainly have heard us talk about the Michigan Main Street program, and of course we've been the city via the organization called the Saline Historic Downtown Alliance Group, or we also the Route 12 to Main Street campaign. We were at the associate level last year and been working the last year or so, year and a half, on the application for the next level, which is the select level of the Michigan Main Street program. And along with that, the select level comes approximately $200,000 worth of technical support over a 5-year period from the state to help us move our downtown forward based on the 4 pillars of the Main Street program: organization, promotion, design, and economic restructuring. And it's heavily driven by volunteers, which we had a great showing a couple weeks ago. I think we may have talked about that, but we had a great showing up at the state for our application that we had to present to the advisory board. And we had 62 people from our great community, from the high school, from the library, from the city, from Historical Society, from Farmers Market, from Arts and Culture, from Saline Player. I mean, we had all sorts of people. We had Henrietta the Hen. It was phenomenal, and I can tell you, as I had the pleasure of telling the Senior Center folks last Friday at the panel discussion, they did Saline proud. They did a tremendous job. Some great creativity, and just so maybe not a surprise to some, but certainly did a great job. But in any case, so we were announced last week, I believe it was last Tuesday or Wednesday, that the governor's office made the official announcement that the city of, well, our community via the SHDA was awarded the select level. So now the next steps will be working with them to essentially, the city would be contracting with those folks to provide a lot of the services that we do downtown between events and those types of things. And we'll see where that process takes us. And they will also have to hire a full-time Main Street manager, and that person needs to be on the job by May 31st of this year. So we will be moving forward.
Thank you. Any other commissioner committee reports? Ms. Dahar, sorry.
I attended the Washtenaw Area Transportation Study Policy Committee meeting on February 15th. I have notes to distribute to council, a couple of items of interest. One general item that everyone may be interested in is that at this meeting, it was announced there will be a public hearing this Wednesday at 6:30 on the proposed roundabout to be installed at State and Ellsworth. So it's a public hearing open to everyone. It will be at the Pittsfield Township Hall. So if you're interested. This Wednesday at 6:30.
Any other reports or other commissioner committee reports?
I have another announcement, excuse me. I thought you had moved on to that portion of the agenda.
Oh, okay. Reports and other announcements. How about that? Mr. Morrow.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank the colleagues of mine who attended my first annual senior conference that was hosted at the Saline Area Senior Center this past Friday. And in addition to thanking my colleagues who attended, I wanted to personally thank Clerk Hill and City Manager Campbell and Assessor Skull for presenting, as well as our interim police chief for being present, and to all the seniors in this area who attended that event. Overall, we thought it was the reaction was very positive. People seemed very pleased. I think it was a great opportunity to learn a little bit more about what was happening at the municipal level, and then also to hear reports from our state rep and county commissioner about what's happening at the county level and also at the state level. We had about 80 people attend and participate, and in addition to that, we had some fabulous door prizes provided by Maureen's Design and Spotted Dog Winery. So again, thank you to everybody who participated and attended, and be of the assumption that next year we will be having the second annual Saline Area Senior Conference, and hopefully it will be an even greater success. Thank you.
Mr. Rhodes?
I have a report from a non-city organization, that's the Saline Area Sustainability Circle. We continue to meet and move slowly and carefully towards the potential enactment of a regional master plan for the city of Saline and the townships around us. We have one more presentation to make, and that is to Pittsfield Township. And then we will be prepared to come forward to the various municipalities with a recommendation. Thank you.
Any other reports or announcements? Okay, Mr. Campbell, you want to talk about the updated strategic plan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If it's all right with you, I thought I would go through the ones that have changes as opposed to every single one, because there's some that have no change or ongoing, and then there's others that have had some changes. So as I try and do every 3 or 4 months or so, try and give City Council an update on how staff is doing, is working towards meeting the goals and objectives in the strategic plan. So the current strategic plan that is in place from July 1st, 2011 through June 30th of 2012. Under Sustain a Vibrant Downtown, the objective, attain a net increase of 2 businesses while retaining current business diversity. As of February 27th, we have a new Tuxedo, Parish Tuxedo Plus, recently opened in the former Calico Cast Space. However, that's a great thing. However, the Bling thing that was downtown is no longer a retail presence. They had or I should say, a downtown presence. They went back to their online. That's how they started out originally, and that's what they're going back to. To support the development of Saline's Main Street program by endorsing and supporting the Saline Historic Downtown Alliance prompt application to the Michigan Main Street program, select level, as I just discussed, that they were, SHDA was selected or awarded the select level on February 22nd. Maintain financial stability is the goal. Objective, evaluate risk of reduction in city operations, staff, financial ordinance concerns, public works, explore possibilities of consolidation and privatization, municipal services. Update as of today, Saline DPW is working with Washington County Road Commission, Pittsfield Township, City of Chelsea, Village of Manchester, and Village of Dexter on possible joint purchasing of new street signs. There's a new federal regulation around reflectivity, the different level of reflectivity that's going to be required now. Saline DPW is also working with the Washington County Road Commission regarding the possibility of partnering on street maintenance methods such as chip and seal. So we'll see where that goes. Labor negotiations, benefits, same for all groups, updated. This was after the previous update, but it was a couple months ago. But Saline City Council adopted the hard cap for employees, cost sharing, and health benefits for non-union employees that began January 1st, 2012. Teamsters Local 214 members will fall under the hard cap rule as of July 1st, 2012. Once their current collective bargaining agreement expires, June 30th, 2012. Saline Police Officers Association and Saline Sergeants Association both have collective bargaining agreements that expire June 30th, 2013. Under improved communications, develop The objective, develop a relationship with a community member to assist municipal departments with writing, marketing, and drafting informative media releases. We have an update. I'll be meeting with a gal that has a service here in Saline, actually this week, to look into that further and see if we can make that work. Establish a visioning session with the Saline City Council, Saline Area Schools, Saline District Library, Saline Downtown Merchant Association, Saline Area Chamber of Commerce, etc. You may recall that in the past, we've had some joint meetings with like the City Council and the School Board, the City Council and the Chamber Board, and you all talked about doing a joint meeting of several organizations, so and I believe I sent that out for you all to take a look at. But we are working on that. Clerk Hill and my administrative assistant, Justine Myra, we're all working on that to put that together, so we're probably looking maybe in April, mid to late April, possibly after spring break. Let's see. Enhance quality of life is the goal, and objective, promote a healthy community by adding to existing opportunities for healthier lifestyles and providing information on quality choices. Updated as of today, February 3rd was National Wear Red Day to help raise awareness of women's heart health. The Rec Center teamed up with the Michigan Heart Association to promote Wear Red Day. The Rec Center offered free admission and free fitness classes to everyone who wore red to the Rec Center that day. Also, the Rec Center has a dedicated flyer rack on the second floor where most of the fitness classes and workout facilities are located and kept filled with fitness and health-related materials. Found that many people take these articles to read and share with others. And then the rec centers, we're also planning in the planning stages for a community-wide health fair targeting the end of September 2012 at the rec center. So stay tuned for more information on that. Access grant funding for cultural and recreational amenities and activities. Updated as of today, the Parks and Recreation Department was awarded a CARES grant for aquatic safety features and play equipment. And that might be it. And that is it. Happy to take any questions or comments that anyone may have.
Any questions or comments? Mr. Gearbox?
Just a comment. I mean, on the one issue with the pavilion, I believe we discussed that at our strategic planning in January about dropping that. So if we could modify that, it says no change, but actually I believe we dropped it. So if you want to put on,
Well, this is our current goals.
I know it's our current goals, but the changes, we've already identified that we're dropping it. So I would think that would be appropriate to, if we've already discussed it in this year, not to deal with it. Sometimes you don't want to continue working on a goal if it's not going to be
Oh, awesome.
perceived. So,
Sure, we can certainly do that, but just so you know, we haven't been working on it.
okay,
So-
that's what I wanted to confirm.
Sure, yep.
Okay, any further discussion on the update? Okay. PCF discussion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Make this very brief, but as you all know, I updated you on my communique, or in my communique. We're having some structural issues, challenges out at pollution control facility, and also looking at doing some improvements. We're going to have, would like to have a work session prior to next week's meeting on the 5th, March 5th. But in preparation of that, we'd like to invite council members to come out and take a more detailed tour of the facility with Bob Scull, our superintendent. I believe Councilmember Rhodes has done that, and it's an eye-opening experience, to say the least. So I would like to, I mean, you can either, if you want to call Bob directly, but it would be between now and 6:30 on next Monday when we have the work session. But if we could get something scheduled, and, Bob's even volunteered that, if you want to do this in small groups, obviously it has to be less than 3 or less. But if you wanted to go out, even on this weekend, if that would work, depending on what schedules are, we prefer obviously to try and do it during the week, but if that doesn't work, then we want to be able to provide you all with the opportunity to go out there and take a look. So I don't know if there's any discussion, or if you just want to get a hold of me or tell me how you want to do it, or We'll go from there.
Mr. Rose?
I'd just like to suggest that daylight hours is a whole lot better
Right,
going out at night.
right, yes, absolutely.
Well, I know some people have to work during the day, so that maybe, I don't know if people can get there in time before dark, like at 5 or something.
Probably.
Could you get, maybe we
Yeah,
could do
or
one
Saturday
time at
morning.
5? Mr. Morrow?
I'm pretty booked up between now and next Monday, but I have next Monday pretty much wide open. So
Okay.
if there was a group, or even if you know, it was just me, I could make anything on Monday
Okay.
work. If you want to shoot me a text or email me to let me
Okay.
know for sure.
Okay.
Maybe just have Justine put like a couple of dates, one after work, after 5 o'clock, and then one
Okay,
during the day. And just push it out to all council.
we'll do.
I think it would be easier, more effective, efficient for the Bob to not have to take each person.
Oh, I agree,
We
but-
can make that work.
Yeah, and I'm not sure
There's
we-
a Metomatic or the Doodle calendar, there's different, online calendars that we could put out with a
Right.
couple of different options.
Yep,
And why would we be concerned about 3 or more? Because it's not really a meeting. We're not debating to decision. We're just going to be gathering information. So I don't think this is any different than any of our work sessions and some of those, so.
yeah, those are posted, the work sessions are posted.
Yeah, but this isn't really a thing that we're going to be debating or talking about something. We're just going out to see what it is, so I wouldn't be concerned.
Well,
Anyways, my opinion.
okay, so can you get Justine and
Yes.
just maybe 2 or 3 dates?
Yep.
One after 5 o'clock for people that can't get off.
Yep, we'll do.
And then, great, thanks. Hope everybody can get a walkthrough before our work session. So obviously, we have a work session on Monday to talk about this.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then the Michigan Avenue Survey, Mr. Rubel, you want to talk about that?
The Michigan Department of Transportation hired URS in January. URS is an engineering company, quite large, and they in turn hired Advanced Geomatics, a survey company. They perform the base survey, which means they're established in both the horizontal and vertical controls and the benchmarks. From that, then, they will gather information and draw up a preliminary plan and come back with us. We've had 2 meetings with URS, and so they're in the initial stages. We provide them with details of our water main and sanitary sewer system, and we provided them with the videotaping that we did of the sanitary sewer, and we noted the defects in both of those systems, and our expectations of rehabilitation for our utilities underneath the Michigan Avenue roadway. And so that's the point we're at now with as far as the street and utilities. At some point, we will probably talk about streetscape, and once the plans are more elaborate, we'll talk about streetscape, refuge islands, things of that nature.
So this whole approach is for our intended development of the whole Michigan Avenue corridor? Because today I saw there was so much activity going on uptown, east of South Ann Arbor and North Ann Arbor Street. I didn't know if we're going to do the whole length of Michigan Avenue or exactly.
It'll be from the bridge to Maple.
Okay.
But it's not till 2015, right?
Well, they actually, now, on their 5-year plan, it shows 2017. But then they talk about letting it as early as 2016. And I think it all hinges on the gas tax and other elements of the state revenues.
And so the cost of the survey is being charged against our general funds or what
Not-
sources?
No, they're working for MDOT.
It is all MDOT.
It's all MDOT. URS has shared with us that at this point, they are heavily considering paying for all of the water main work,
Oh,
which is normally, it's a city utility. But because of we drafted up some justifications why the scope of the water main work should be included in the project, not only the surface work, but the replacement of the 1916 water main.
wow. Good. Glad we can get that kind of resource from the state. Perfect.
So what about the the traffic calming stuff we had planned out for Michigan Avenue? The median and all that? When would that be?
That would be when they furnish preliminary plans and they're getting input on final plan details. And so that'll be, it could be as early as next, well, as later in this year. It could be as, it could happen later this year.
Okay. Is there any other questions for Mr. Remoll regarding Michigan Avenue? Thank you. Under public comment under the Open Meetings Act, any citizen may come forward at this time, make comment or question to City Council. This public comment period will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Anyone who would like to speak is requested but not required to state his or her name and address for the record.
Mary Hess, 600 Canterbury. Congratulations on the Main Street program. The couple areas, of course, that you have really commented on was improving communications, and that is part that as far as having an informed citizenry. Is it possible to have a couple Saturdays where people can come in and voice concerns or what's happening with US 12 and certain other comments? Because 3 minutes and making your concerns and there are no answers or no comments back, it really doesn't have a communication type of situation. The other thing is, I notice you've got budgets coming up, and I know it's going to be tight, but I was noticing that you plan on having the Bee Blooming campaign, again, which is the flower baskets downtown and the flower bins. And I would hope the DPW, and I'm asking, as far as how those are going to be maintained this year, because on a tight budget and having a DPW truck out with water and an employee watering flower baskets does not exactly, with contracts coming up, I think that's hard. Another thing is I've helped with the Legion with our tabs and bingo, and as far as the food stamps like voucher, it is going to take a lot of time, and I think that the paperwork, it will be a rough situation to get into, and it's a good cause, but when you have tokens and you have money and you have this, you have a lot more bookkeeping type of situation. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other citizen comments? If not, we'll move, is there any other business to come for the City Council? Mr. Rose?
Not a business, but I just wanted to say thank you to Jeff Fordyce and his staff at DPW for their work at the cemetery. They've begun to do those improvements down there, and it looks much better. Thank you.
Okay, our upcoming meetings, the next meeting is next Monday, and we have a work meeting at 6:30 and a regular meeting at 7:30. Do we, let's see, do we have a motion to adjourn at 8:40?
So moved.
Second.
Gearboss, second Morrow. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.